guys, and welcome to a new video on Sonal's Life. Now, of course, we are here because it was the G1 final. A G1 that was full of highs, lows, a very controversial final, and the House of Torture. Now, I normally do one like mid-tournament, like a review or catch-up, but I didn't do it this time. So, we have a single video to go through all the blocks, everything that went down, semi-finals, and the finals. So, let's just get going. We started this tournament with really high hopes, and actually the lineup was very good. We had some very good playoffs. Sadly, Hiroki Goto had to pull out because of injury. Or maybe he had a movie, I don't know. And then we got Taichi in it, and actually for the opening, like the actual block matches, they were very good. Except House of Torture. Now I'm gonna just preface, there are no House of Torture matches in my list of best matches. House of Torture is the one part of New Japan that, like, I am a New Japan loyalist through and through. You know this. And actually, to an extent, I don't mind some House of Torture shenanigans. I like shenanigans. And actually, Ren Narita in Block B, his matches, I didn't mind the shenanigans. It wasn't as hefty as Sanada and Evil. But I think, and we'll discuss this when we come to the main event of the final, New Japan really needs to sit down and discuss what angle and what journey they are doing with House of Torture. So yeah, that's just a preface. I actually think the tournament itself was very good, with some very good matches. We saw a lot of the young guys pick up big wins. I want to particularly shout out in A block the consensus with Tanahashi's final matches, who did great, besides being on like no knees. He seemed to beat all of the more established stars. So he beat like Suji for his 100th win. The Taichi, the guys who are like kind of veterans in the thing. But he lost to the up-and-comers. He lost to Uemura. He lost to Callum. He lost to Oiwa. So I really liked that. Because the young guys actually really showed off in this. Similarly, in Block B, there was a lot of amazing things from the young guys. Obviously, the sad thing was that Gabe Kidd had to... can't find the word. He had to drop out of the G1 due to an injury that he had in his first match against Takeshita. But, you know what I mean, Takeshita, even, like I said, even Ren Narita, all of the guys were doing very good things. But then on the balance, the veterans were really strong. Taichi was giving match of the year candidates. He was putting his heart and soul into it, even though he came out at the bottom of Block A. But he wasn't meant to be in it to start with. Tanahashi was showing that fighting pride. Block B, Shingo, Zack Sabre Jr. putting amazing matches. Yoshihashi went, I think, did he have 4 wins in a row at the start? Yoshihashi had me thinking that he was going to win the whole tournament. It didn't happen, but there was a really nice balance of the matches. Now, I know one of the criticisms has been that Tanahashi didn't follow his 10-step plan and the young generation haven't been pushed. I guess it depends on how you define pushed. If you say pushed is getting results, getting to the finals, getting to semi-finals, no, they weren't pushed. But if you look at guys' improvement, the way they are able to connect with the crowds, how much they have done and worked on since, I don't know, their last tournament, or if they've come back from excursion and things like that, they have grown and showcased so much. They had people saying, right, that's the future, that's the future. In particular, Callum Newman, I almost said Callum Hood there, that was because I was into 5 seconds of summer yesterday. Callum Newman has really managed to balance actually his muscle increase and weight increase, but still being fast. He's amazing in the ring, but he's very good on the mic, he's very good backstage on the comments. So I'm really excited for that. The block matches actually, were phenomenal. From start to end, except House of Torture. Let me just preface that. And I'm just going to quickly go through some of the matches that I found amazing. I always write a list, and at first I was really detailed. I was like, I can tell everyone what I liked about this match and this match. But then I realised that there was one pretty much every day. I'm reading this off. If I've got the nights wrong, I'm very sorry. So, night 1 started off with a bang. We had Oiwa versus David Finlay. Really hard hitting. And with Oiwa winning this, it was sort of a pattern. I also didn't mention that Finlay did phenomenally. Showcasing that actually these young guys were getting wins over some very big and established names. Gabe versus Takeshita, phenomenal. Again, these were both on night 1, so it was great. Day 2, ELP versus Takeshita. ELP finally got that patented win over Takeshita, which he's been chasing for. That was great. Taichi versus Uemura. You had the father and the son facing off at each other. You saw how much they respected each other, but how much they were into it. It was also a plus because Zack Sabre Jr. was on English commentary at that time, so that was also fun. Day 3, Tsuji versus Uemura. A feud as old as time, a feud that will continue until they decide to retire. Really good. Day 5, Tsuji versus Oiwa. Again, Oiwa's another one that stood out really strong. Day 6, Shingo versus Takeshita. Like I said, I'm not going through everything because there were so many good matches. Day 8, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Takeshita. 9, Tsuji versus Taichi. Day 10, ELP versus Shingo. It was the father and the son coming back. That's this one. So this one's interesting. I'm going to speak about this one quickly. If you're a wrestling purist, you will not enjoy this match because, yes, it was an amazing match, but actually it was very funny. We don't have Toru Yano in this tournament. There is no humour in the G1 anymore. But ELP and Shingo brought it in bucket loads. So if you're like me and you like a bit of fun, make sure to go and watch that match. Day 11, Oiwa versus Taichi. Day 13, Uemura versus Oiwa. You can see there's a pattern of like who appears the most. 15, Finley versus Uemura. 14, oh, I skipped those dates. They're probably the other way around. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Driller. This one was really close to my heart. 2 Brits that I have followed for years. Driller is phenomenal. I didn't mention him earlier because I think people tend to forget how young Driller is. Driller is 27. He's younger than me. He's the same age as Shota and Ren Narita. But he seems to have this aura of being older. That, and he's also been a wrestler for years. He's been on the independent scene. He mentioned, actually, this backstory was really nice to this. And commentary kept bringing it up. So shout out to Walker, Chris, and everyone who joined commentary. So like Rocky, ELP, Hartley Jackson. It was great. They brought up the fact that when Driller was a teenager, his mum asked him what he wanted for his birthday, and all he wanted was to go to a seminar with Zack Sabre Jr. to learn from him. And Driller might have lost this, but it's not going to be the last time they're pass across. Even in the backstage comments, they showed respect, and Zack was like, you know what, wrestle me again and I will take it. In the playoffs, Finley versus Takeshita, and then the semis, Takeshita versus Zack Sabre Jr. So, like I said, there was a lot of controversy surrounding this, but on the edge of it, there was some amazing matches. Now, the controversy really started with the points and like how shocking it was that the likes of Evil and Ren Narita were actually having a lot of points. In particular, when it came to the playoffs, Evil topped the A block. So Evil topped the A block, and Zack Sabre Jr. topped the B block. And this meant that in the semi-finals, we had Evil versus Tsuji and Zack versus Takeshita to see who would make the finals. Now, Zack versus Takeshita was great. I actually have to rewatch it because I was very stressed during that match. But it was everything you expected. I know that a lot of people are shitting on Zack for not selling a dangerous move that Takeshita did. I'm sorry, if you watch that move, and you'll see it on my social media page, that was actually very brutal. Now, for everything that happened in the match before, you can't blame everyone for worrying, but you also can't blame Zack because I think the selling was much more authentic. The controversy happened during the House of Torture match, the Evil versus Tsuji. Now, as I said, House of Torture have been a thorn in my side. Ren Narita, I have accepted Ren Narita. Ren Narita, we are good friends for the time being. There was so much interference, and this was no different. There was every member of House of Torture coming out at some point. And then at one point, Fale should not be in the ring at this point. It was just a miracle that he couldn't do the playoffs for the G1. Hit a bad luck falls on Tsuji, and it was very rough. And so in the end, there was obviously Maki Asami got kicked out of the ring because he got injured, and then Kenta Sato had to come in, and he actually stopped the match very quickly. Now at the time, it would look like, and commentary was saying that Tsuji looked unconscious. And really, at that point, nobody knew if it was a work or not. With more reports kind of seeming like it was, but holy god, Tsuji had everyone very worried. And there was actually, so for anyone who says, Sono, you're just being too optimistic that you were like, oh, Gedo and the booking team wouldn't have Evil. It wasn't just a case of like, I didn't want to believe that the bookers wanted Evil to get through. There were just too many things that went together that just didn't seem right. So how short commentary were, the fast reaction of Kenta Sato, we couldn't even see what happened for him to call the match. The look on Nagai's face, even held the look of on Evil's face when it was kind of like, wasn't like a ha ha ha, Evil won. It was like a, did that actually just happen? Because we all know that really the Scorpion Deathlock is not that of a vicious thing. So we then had it set for Takeshita vs Evil. Now, I spent the last 24 hours very anxious. And I will tell you why. As soon as I went on social media, and I tend to say I don't go on social media a lot during matches, I tend to just tweet and stuff. Their discourse was brutal. There was people saying that they were going to stop watching New Japan if Evil won, that Gedo had lost his mind. I just want to say, we again don't know if Gedo is fully in control of all the booking. I cannot imagine that they would let the biggest wrestling company in Japan, all the booking be based on one person's shoulders. So yeah, when we speak about Gedo, I like to think that everyone is speaking generally on the booking, but Gedo is a good scapegoat to use. Then there was fans saying they wouldn't watch if like Takeshita won because he's a part-timer. Now, my discourse on this is coming from a New Japan faithful, but also coming from someone who watched DDT for a very long time. I understand if you don't want a part-timer to win. But the concept of part-time with Takeshita doesn't really make sense. He is signed to 3 contracts. I personally think he's paid a lot more than other part-timers have from other companies. And also, it's not like he was just handed this. Especially in the final, which I will discuss later. They discussed how Takeshita at 6 years old wrote a letter to New Japan to join. He didn't get it. So, as a teenager, he went into the DDT system. At a time where DDT really wasn't known to many people. And he worked his way up. I remember watching some of his Young Lion, that's, you know, when he was a young boy. And he was so skinny and so unsure of himself. Like, I can't remember which New Japan. I think there's even one where he, like, stood up to Tanahashi when he must have been in his teens. He then continued improving and became the ace of DDT. Got noticed on a world stage and went to AEW. You can have your grievances about Takeshita, but he deserves to be in the spot that he is. It wasn't his strongest tournament, I'll say this. There were a lot of other guys who maybe did better, but Takeshita is truly a phenomenal wrestler. So there was that discourse, and then in the Japanese teams, there was like a lot of mixed people saying, well, an outsider shouldn't win. Or some people saying, I saw one mutual that I have who said that if House of Torture and Evil win, they're not going to watch it anymore. And I was like, damn, this really could be the end. But I got to put 7 to watch the show anyway, and then quite a lot of things happened in it. So I'm not gonna go over the card. I'm gonna quickly go over what happened. So we saw Yo pin Despy. Taguchi, actually, in the yesterday's show, he pinned Yano. Well, no, he didn't. He pinned one of the Never 6-Man championships, so there's something to watch out for. Oscar Loibe and Yuto Nakajima made their return as part of the War Dogs, and they are challenging Taichi and Ishii for the IWGP titles. And then we got to the finals. Now, the first 2 minutes were, well, the first 5-10 minutes were awful. Within 2 minutes, we had every Tom, Dick, and Harry House of Torture guy coming out, and I was like, Jesus Christ. We're in the G1 final, and this is what we got. However, we got a rescuer in the form of Rocky Romero. He managed to, with the help of the Young Lions, shift all of House of Torture out of the way. Then when Ren Narita snuck in, Zack Sabre Jr. came in and whisked him away, because obviously Ren pinned Zack, and I think this will be setting up for a title match between the two of them. And shockingly, if you discount those first 5-10 minutes, this was an amazing match. Yes, an Evil match was an amazing match, because we saw the man wrestle for about 15 minutes. And the crowd, you know what, the crowd was very interesting, because you had the crowd split. Takeshita and Evil's chance, it was a thing. When House of Torture left, the crowd were firmly for Evil. When Takeshita had Evil in a very rough-looking submission, they were chanting Evil. However, when the House of Torture came out, they were chanting for Takeshita. So it's the concept of actually people don't hate the House of Torture. They don't hate evil. Well, that's what this is what I'm inferring from it. They hate the House of Torture shenanigans. But it also could be the sense of the Pride is a New Japan fan, because they didn't want an outsider to do it. Evil, born and raised in New Japan, he was there as Watanabe in the dojo. He was then one of the first parejas of Tetsuya Naito for Los Ingobernables de Japón. He is always there working, except that one time where everyone thought he'd quit. And Takeshita similarly, so Takeshita was very good at using this as a way of not being a babyface or not being a heel. He was just a guy there for his selfish needs. He said this going into the G1, this is what he wants. He wants to win after what happened last year. So he wasn't trying to get the crowd support. He wasn't trying to get the crowd to boo him. He was just doing what he does best, which is being a great professional wrestler. And this managed to bring out an evil I've never seen before. An evil that I don't even think was there when he was in LIJ. This man was there was a low blow. But like Yano does low blows and we still love him for that. He was giving us submissions, hard-hitting moves. It was actually phenomenal. And I was still really stressed that there could have been a possibility that Evil won, because I was like pacing the room, like the house. I was like, this is actually the most stressed I've ever been. Now, in the end, like, actually, because there was a worrying moment where Takeshita gave in because of his knee. Like, it was so funny. So whenever Evil is in a big crowd, like there's a big crowd and very vocal crowd, if he goes to the Evil, they got everything is, whereas he goes for his finisher. And there was one moment where he was going for it and Takeshita just collapsed. However, in the end, Takeshita got the win. And if you look on my Twitter at wrestling_chat, there was a really cute video of the DDT crowds hearing the announcements, and Takeshita started crying and he said, you know what, pro wrestling has been my life. He did say, if you have a passion for something like pro wrestling, you can be a pro wrestler. Sorry, Takeshita, been there, done that, it didn't work. But he had that pride. And actually, I think he teased that he was going to go through a Zack Sabre Jr. route. And he said he wants to go into the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, not only as the G1 Climax winner, but the IWGP champion. So could we see him doing a Zack and challenging early? I feel like what they might have is all of the young guys who beat Zack in the tournament facing the submission specialist, and then have Takeshita face him, I don't know, later on, maybe King of Pro Wrestling or something, to then win to headline. But all I know is if there is a possibility of Takeshita headlining Wrestle Kingdom, I will be going again. I will be going to see Takeshita. I will be going to see Tanahashi's last match. And yeah, so I mean, after like a roller coaster, and you still might not be happy with it, I was personally really proud. And I think maybe it's because I have that special soft spot for Takeshita as a DDT fan. For example, like, let's say if Ueno from DDT did a Best of Super Junior or G1, or like Tetsuya Endo or Takao, a lot of people wouldn't want them to win because they'd be like, well, they're not in the company, they're just pushing outsiders. But then I would be fine with it, because these are the guys that I spent so long watching. So yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster tournament, and I can tell you I've never been so stressed during a New Japan tournament in my life. And it hilariously took Evil to wrestle well for me to get that. But yeah, you know the lists and thing. I obviously massively failed with my predictions. I said that Takeshita was going to make the final, but I had him facing Tsuji and had Tsuji winning, so I did alright. To be fair, I won the last 2 years with Zack and Naito, so I can't have everything. When it comes to MVPs, I'm going to go again with my, I'm going to do 2 from each block. So I'm going to say Block A, Taichi and Oiwa. Special shout outs to Cal Newman though. They did absolutely amazing work in the ring and out, really brought the passion from it. Block B, I'm going to say Drilla Maloney and Yoshihashi. Yoshihashi, you know what? ELP made a really interesting point on commentary that people only put 100% in if they're in the main event. Yoshihashi was mainly in the openers of the block matches, and he put 120% in. And Drilla Maloney is just phenomenal. It's his first G1 and he really made an impact. Especially his matches with Shingo and stuff, actually amazing. I was kind of sad we didn't get to see Drilla versus Gabe, but one day in the future. So yeah, that was my G1 review. I feel like I should have done like a mid-tournament review because I was kind of rushing things, but it was a whole hella roller coaster. I can tell you that. Next up, we have got Forbidden Door. I will not be going. I will not be live. However, I will be watching live. So you can follow me on social media at wrestling_chat. Make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe because you will be the first to hear any big news, any videos that I do, including the review for Forbidden Door, which is actually not a Forbidden Door because there's only like 2-3 matches that are AW versus New Japan. Again, that's a discourse for something completely different. But yeah, it's been an interesting month. They say it's the hottest month of the year for Japan. It's the hottest month of the year for New Japan. But my blood pressure has been sky high. Congratulations, Konosuke Takeshita. I'm very excited to see what happens. We have the Destruction Tour coming up. They recently announced Super Junior Tag League. We are now officially on the road to Wrestle Kingdom. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the tournament. Let me know in the comments, I didn't mention this, your match of the tournament, who impressed you the most, what you thought about the stress of the semi-final and the final. Make sure to let me know, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!